I learned early that power does not announce itself before it takes something from you. I was 17 when men with guns turned my father's classroom into a statistic. I remember the chalk dust more than the blood. I remember thinking that silence was safer than screaming. Years later, standing on a manicured golf course in Ulsan, that same silence wraps around me like armor. People see a foreign athlete with calm eyes and a perfect swing. They do not see the girl who learned that survival means control. They do not know that every step I take is measured against fear. And they do not know how close power already is. Welcome if this is your first time here, and welcome back if you've been with us before. Tell me where you're watching from as this story unfolds. This channel tells stories that hit home quietly and honestly. If that's your kind of story, stay with us and consider subscribing. Adaeze Nkiru Okafor arrived in South Korea with one suitcase and no illusions. She learned Korean by listening more than speaking. She worked nights cleaning locker rooms after training. Her talent on the golf course was undeniable, but respect came slower. Ulsan became her anchor because it did not demand performance beyond discipline. Factories hummed, executives kept their distance. Money moved quietly. Here she could exist without explanation. The corporate summit at the Ulsan Grand Hotel was precise and cold. Adaeze wore a neutral dress chosen by an assistant she barely knew. Kang Min-jae approached her with the confidence of inherited certainty. His smile was polite, not curious. He spoke of alignment, image, and shared benefit. Marriage was presented as strategy, not romance. She listened without interrupting. She understood what was being offered. Access in exchange for distance. The marriage contract was signed weeks later without witnesses she trusted. Their Ulsan residence was large, modern, and emotionally vacant. Separate schedules became routine. Public appearances were flawless. Private conversations were brief. Adaeze accepted the role of chairwoman of the Hwayne Foundation with deliberate intent. She redirected budgets toward education and health initiatives. She insisted on transparency that unsettled board members. Min-jae watched without interference or affection. The incident near the docks was reported as an accident. A black sedan swerved too close. Brakes screamed. Metal kissed metal. Adaeze exited the vehicle unshaken but alert. By morning, a new bodyguard was assigned. Park Do-yoon stood straight, eyes steady, words minimal. His presence was quiet, controlled, professional. He did not introduce himself twice. Do-yoon observed before he acted. He adjusted her schedule without asking. He anticipated threats that never materialized. He spoke only when necessary. Adaeze noticed his restraint before she noticed his face. Silence between them felt intentional. During long drives through Ulsan's industrial corridors, nothing needed filling. Trust formed without permission. Neither acknowledged it. I realized something was wrong when he started walking half a step closer. I told myself it was procedure. I told myself not to notice, but my body noticed before my mind did. When alarms sounded briefly at a charity gala, he shielded me without hesitation. His hand pressed against my waist longer than protocol allowed. I felt his breath change. I felt my own control slip. We said nothing. Behind closed doors, files resurfaced. Do-yoon accessed archives meant to stay buried. Aid money traced back to shell companies. Routes led through West Africa. The Hwayne Group name appeared too often to ignore. Adaeze's public image was highlighted as leverage. She was labeled an asset and a risk. The earlier incident was no accident. Do-yoon closed the file with shaking hands. That night, Ulsan slept unaware. Adaeze stood on her balcony, city noise muted below. Do-yoon remained stationed outside her door. Between them lay unspoken knowledge and growing danger. The foundation gala continued planning as scheduled. The marriage remained intact in public. Protection and surveillance blurred into one. Trust became a question neither dared ask. The city kept humming. The next weeks settle into a pattern that looks stable from the outside. Adaeze attends board meetings and oversees calls without missing a step. Her voice remains calm even when executives push back against her audits. Min-jae maintains distance with practiced courtesy. Do-yun shadows her movements with precision that never feels intrusive. At night, Ulsan's industrial lights glow like a controlled fire. Adaeze studies financial summaries alone, marking inconsistencies she cannot yet name. She senses pressure without visible force. Someone is waiting for her to misstep. Do-yun begins to alter small details no one else notices. A driver is reassigned. A route is delayed by minutes. A meeting room is changed at the last second. These shifts go unreported. He studies security feeds late into the night. The deeper he looks, the clearer the structure becomes. Protection is no longer his only task. Containment has entered the equation. Adaeze visits a youth sports center funded by the foundation on Ulsan's outskirts. Children gather without knowing who she is supposed to be. She speaks simply, listens more than she talks. When she answers a question in Igbo by accident, the room goes quiet. She smiles and translates herself into Korean without apology. The staff watch closely. Phones lift. Authenticity unsettles people who rely on polish. Do-yun notices who records and who leaves early. I ask him once why he became a bodyguard. He answers without looking at me. "Order," he says. The word lands heavier than intended. I think of my father's classroom and unfinished equations. I think of how order can be protective or cruel. We stand side by side without touching. For the first time, I wonder what he sees when he looks at me. I do not ask. Lee Jun schedules a private financial review under the guise of efficiency. His tone is polite but sharp. He suggests reallocations that weaken Adaeze's oversight. She declines without raising her voice. He smiles too quickly. After the meeting, Do-yun notices Lee Jun's call to an unknown number. The conversation is brief. The timing is not accidental. Lines are being drawn. Min-jae hosts a private dinner meant to signal unity. The table is long. The conversation is light. Adaeze listens as board members praise her public image. Min-jae speaks of stability and legacy. No one mentions numbers. No one mentions Africa. Adaeze realizes the dinner is a warning disguised as approval. She leaves early without explanation. That night, a restricted file appears on Do-yun's terminal. It should not exist anymore. He traces its origin through obsolete servers. The contents confirm his suspicions with brutal clarity. Money cycles through foundations as reputation insurance. Adaeze's name anchors donor trust. She is meant to remain visible and compliant. Do-yun understands the danger has shifted. She is no longer just protected. I sense him pulling away before he ever does. His silence thickens. His posture changes. When I ask if something is wrong, he says no too quickly. I recognize that kind of answer. It is the sound of someone choosing between truths. The space between us feels heavier than before. I do not push. Power punishes curiosity. Ulsan prepares for the upcoming Foundation Summit at the Port Conference Hall. Media schedules finalize. Security increases. Executives move confidently, assuming control. Adaeze reviews her notes with deliberate calm. Do-yun adjusts his plans in silence. Each of them understands that visibility now carries risk. The city remains unaware of the fracture beneath its order. The next move will not allow mistakes. I realize the truth does not arrive loudly. It settles. It waits for you to notice how quiet everything has become. I wake before dawn in Ulsan and feel watched without seeing anyone. My marriage feels thinner than paper. My work feels heavier than steel. I dress without calling for assistance. When I open the door, Do-yun is already there. He meets my eyes for half a second longer than usual, and I know something has shifted. Adaeze's requests for independent audits begin meeting resistance. Emails go unanswered. Meetings are postponed. Donors are redirected toward ceremonial appearances instead of site visits. The Foundation's tone subtly changes from action to optics. Min-jae remains courteous, distant, and unreachable. He offers reassurance without solutions. Adaeze recognizes containment when she sees it. She starts copying documents onto private drives. Do-yun quietly intercepts a security update meant to limit her movements. He modifies it before it reaches implementation. No one notices. He tracks unfamiliar surveillance near the residence perimeter. The pattern points inward, not outward. He stops reporting certain anomalies. Each omission tightens the risk around him. He understands the line he has crossed. There is no return to neutrality. Adaeze attends a closed-door donor meeting without her usual entourage. The questions are friendly, but pointed. Africa is mentioned as branding, not responsibility. She answers carefully, refusing simplification. Her calm unsettles them. One donor suggests a symbolic school instead of systemic investment. She declines publicly. The room cools. Do-yun memorizes every face. I hear it in Lee Jun's voice before I see it in his hands. Confidence sharpened into threat. He corners me after the meeting under the pretense of concern. He talks about protection and stability. He implies that visibility is a privilege. When I ask what he wants, he smiles. That smile tells me everything. I tell him I need time. He tells me I do not have much. Do-yun follows Lee Jun without being seen. The trail leads to a private server room connected to off-book accounts. He photographs access logs and timestamps. He confirms coordination between Foundation Finance and Hwayne subsidiaries. The scale exceeds his earlier assumptions. This is not opportunistic corruption. It is engineered. Adaeze is central to its credibility. Her removal would destabilize everything. The distance between Adaeze and Do-yun becomes deliberate. He speaks less. She watches more. They exchange information without words. At a red light, their eyes meet through the mirror. Nothing passes between them except understanding. Risk has entered the space where trust once grew. Both know that attachment now carries consequences. Neither steps back. If this story is holding your attention, take a moment to subscribe and stay with us. Minjae finally speaks plainly during a late-night conversation. He warns Adaeze about isolation. He suggests rest. Fewer investigations, softer edges. He frames it as care. She recognizes it as control. When she asks if he knows what Lee Jun is doing, he does not answer. Silence confirms complicity. Adaeze thanks him for his honesty. He does not realize it was a farewell. Ulsan prepares for the Foundation Summit like a stage set for revelation. Banners rise, security tightens, press lists finalize. Adaeze organizes her evidence with methodical calm. Do-yun finalizes contingency routes no one approved. Both understand exposure will trigger retaliation. Neither believes silence is an option anymore. The city moves forward, unaware it is about to witness a collapse. The day of the summit arrives without ceremony. Ulsan wakes under a low sky. Adaeze dresses herself, choosing simplicity over symbolism. No jewelry, no assistance. She reviews her statement once and closes the file. Outside, Do-yun waits as always, expression unreadable. They do not speak on the drive to the port. The silence is no longer comfortable. It is necessary. Inside the conference hall, the air is controlled and polished. Executives greet donors with practiced warmth. Cameras test angles. Adaeze takes her seat at the front row. Lee Jun avoids her eyes. Minjae nods once, formal and restrained. Do-yun positions himself near a service corridor, not where he is supposed to be. Security reports normal conditions. Nothing looks wrong. I feel it before I see it. The wrong kind of attention. A pressure in the room that has nothing to do with cameras. When I turn slightly, Lee Jun is watching me too closely. His confidence is brittle. He thinks today belongs to him. I understand then that he expects me to stay silent. I straighten my back. Silence has never saved anyone I loved. The first presentation ends to polite applause. As the second speaker takes the stage, a sudden disturbance ripples near the rear exits. A guard reaches for his radio too late. Do-yun moves before the sound registers. A shot cracks through the hall, sharp and wrong. He lunges toward Adaeze, body turning instinctively. Pain tears through him as he absorbs the impact meant for her. Chaos erupts. Adaeze drops to her knees beside him without thinking. I press my hands against his wound, ignoring the blood soaking my sleeves. My voice leaves me in Igbo before I can stop it. I tell him to stay. I tell him he is not done. His eyes stay open, focused only on my face. He tries to speak but stops. Sirens flood the space. I do not look away. I refuse to let go. The shooter is restrained before reaching the stage. Lee Jun disappears in the confusion. Min-jae remains seated, too still. Paramedics take Do-yeon away under heavy guard. Adaeze stands slowly, hands stained, heart steadying. The room watches her now. The summit is suspended. Security urges evacuation. Adaeze asks for the microphone. She speaks without notes. She names the laundering. She names the manipulation. She names her own unwitting role. Screens behind her display documents she released minutes earlier. The room fractures into shock and disbelief. She switches briefly into Igbo, voice steady, claiming her full name. Then she finishes in Korean, clear and precise. There is no applause. There is no denial that holds. By nightfall, arrests begin quietly. Lee Jun is detained at a private terminal. Board members are questioned. Min-jae is escorted from his office without resistance. Adaeze visits the hospital alone. Do-yeon lies unconscious, stable but guarded. She does not touch him this time. She watches his breathing until it evens out. Forgiveness remains out of reach, but absence no longer feels possible. Ulsan absorbs the shock with muted efficiency. Markets react. Statements are drafted. The foundation is frozen pending investigation. Adaeze resigns before she is asked. She packs without ceremony. Do-yeon survives surgery by morning. He does not ask to see her. She leaves a city that no longer owns her silence. The road ahead is uncertain, but it is hers. I leave Korea without ceremony. No press statement follows me to the airport. My name trends for a day and disappears. On the flight, I do not sleep. I think about the sound of gunfire and the weight of blood on my hands. I think about a man who chose conscience when it cost him everything. When the plane lands in Lagos, heat presses against my skin like truth. This is not a return. It is a beginning that does not ask permission. Nigeria does not slow down for reinvention. Adaeze travels east to Enugu quietly. She meets educators, counselors, and local organizers without announcements. She listens to stories shaped by loss and resilience. The foundation she imagines will not be decorative. It will be measurable. She refuses donations that ask for control. Her Igbo comes back easily here. For the first time in years, her voice does not adjust itself. In Seoul, Park Do-yeon wakes to white ceilings and controlled light. His shoulder aches. His career is over before it is officially ended. Internal reviews name him a liability. No commendations follow the incident. He does not ask for them. He deletes contacts one by one. The last number he removes is Adaeze's. He does not erase the memory. Adaeze registers a new organization without corporate sponsors. Education, trauma recovery, and youth sports form its spine. Operations stretch between Nigeria and South Korea with full transparency. Former Hwayne partners attempt quiet contact. She refuses them all. The work is slow. It is exhausting. It is real. At night, she sometimes dreams of industrial lights and gunfire. I think about him when I should not, when the day runs too long. When the quiet settles too deeply. I wonder if survival changed him the way it changed me. I tell myself distance is the price of integrity. I believe it until I don't. Some truths refuse to stay buried. They wait. So does the heart. If this story is still with you, take a moment to subscribe and stay connected. Do-yeon leaves Korea without notice. No one stops him. He travels light, avoiding headlines and questions. His destination is not written anywhere official. He reads about Adaeze's work through third-party reports. He never reaches out. He understands the weight of choice. Protection no longer defines him. Accountability does. Months pass. The first school opens on the outskirts of Enugu. The building is simple and functional. Adaeze watches children enter with cautious excitement. No banners display donor names. Local leaders speak instead of executives. This time, power does not sit at the center. It moves outward. Adaeze breathes without armor. Do-yeon arrives without announcement. He stands at the edge of the crowd, unnoticed at first. He watches Adaeze interact with the children. She looks different here, lighter, Stronger in a way that cannot be trained, he does not step forward. Not yet. Some choices must be offered, not taken. Adaeze notices him when the noise dips. Their eyes meet across open ground. No past explanations rush forward. No apologies demand space. She walks toward him slowly. The world narrows to breath and presence. This moment asks for honesty, not rescue. Neither of them speaks first. The future waits, patient and unclaimed. I step closer, measuring the space between us. The air carries the hum of children, laughter bright and unknowing. Do-yun does not flinch. His presence steadies me instead of demanding surrender. I hear my own pulse, slow and deliberate. The months of distance, the silent tracking of risk, the weight of responsibility, all of it collapses into this single step. We do not touch yet. Our eyes do the work words cannot. Accountability becomes intimacy in its quietest form. Do-yun steps toward her, each movement precise, intentional, careful. He stops just short, letting her space remain hers. No one speaks. The hum of Ulsan industrial memories drifts away. The ghosts of protection, fear, and loyalty hang briefly in the air. We exhale simultaneously without realizing. I sense him weighing choice against history. He is not rushing, nor am I. The first words are mine, low, almost reflexive. If you walk toward me, it's a new beginning. His eyes soften, registering the permission I offer. No past betrayals are erased, no apologies demanded. It is a quiet agreement of presence. Do-yun nods once, decisive, deliberate. Then he steps forward. The distance closes on their own terms. No urgency, only choice. Our first contact is a brief, measured kiss. It is not rescue. It is not desperation. It is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement of shared risk, silent understanding, and mutual accountability. The air around us seems to pause. The foundation, the children, the months of fear, none of it vanishes, but it no longer binds us. We step back slightly, still connected in a shared space of choice. The world continues, quieter now around our focus. I walk among the children, hands unclenched. Do-yun follows at a distance that is both respectful and deliberate. He watches the way Adaeze moves, speaks, and listens. The foundation thrives because of her vision, not because of fear or obligation. She teaches without posturing. Children respond instinctively to her sincerity. She smiles without calculation. Do-yun records this silently in his mind. Presence has replaced control. Evening descends, the courtyard emptying. The sun casts long shadows over red clay paths. We walk side by side without speaking. Every step confirms what months of silence had suggested. Safety is no longer transactional. Trust is no longer conditional. The wind carries the faint scent of dust and warmth. I do not ask him to stay. He does not offer excuses. We reach the edge of the school grounds. Adaeze turns briefly, acknowledging the day's work, the children, the new structure of possibility. Do-yun stops a few paces behind. We do not need to speak. The choice is mutual, unforced. It carries weight without urgency. The city, the foundation, the past. Everything waits quietly for what comes next. For the first time, neither of us feels tethered by fear. I speak last, softly, letting the words linger. I already did. The acknowledgement settles between us. No promises beyond today, no guarantees beyond presence. The foundation thrives. The past recedes, but is remembered. Love exists here in measured steps and silent agreements. For the first time, silence is not survival. It is choice. Months later, I return to Ulsan alone. No entourage, no title. I walk the shoreline where industry and sea meet. Waves lap at the edges of concrete piers. Wind lifts my coat and hair. The city hums quietly behind me. I am no longer silent. The past, the fear, the compromises, they exist only as guides. I pause, breathing in the cold air. I am fully present, fully myself, and fully unafraid. If this story resonated, subscribe, like, and comment. To stay connected, share your thoughts, join the journey. Every story here is chosen, crafted, and shared with care.